A very good morning to everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the bulletin on this beautiful Sunday morning, the 26th of October 2025. You're listening to the club station of the St. Amateur Radio Club, Z6STN, which is operated today from the Shack of Angus, Z6 Golf Oscar Oscar. This bulletin is broadcast every Sunday morning at 8:45 local time on the following frequencies. 145.700 megahertz FM in the 2-meter band, 7.115 megahertz lower side band in the 40-meter band, via the relay from the Shack of Noel, ZR6DX Noel, thank you very much for that. And then we have Echolink, ZS6SDN-R. Alright, in the news today, first club news, club birthdays, general ham radio news, special topic of interest. Okay, let's start. Firstly is club birthdays for the past and coming week. Alright, last week we had, first on the 21st was Christopher Becker, ZS6 Charlie Lima Bravo on the 21st. Then we had on the 23rd, we had three. We had Jan Schubert, ZS6 Alpha Romeo Victor on the 23rd. Then we had Richard Gears, ZS6 Lima Lima on the 23rd. And then we had Henk Velderblom, I hope I got that right, ZS6 Hotel Charlie Golf on the 23rd. Then yesterday we had Darren Tarrant, ZR6 Tango Delta. Then the coming week I know there's some birthdays as well. About that I had to flip the page there. Then on the 27th we've got Keith Barker, ZS6HR. And then Marius, also ZR6MS for the 27th as well. And then I see on the 28th, so let me just get my 28th. No, we don't. Okay, that's it. All right, so gents, if you, for your coming birthdays, I hope you get spoiled rotten. And for the past week, I hope you got spoiled as well. Anyway, let me find out if there's any other club news. I will come to the RE candidates as well.
Z6HR.
Z6HR, good morning. Take a round from Z6STN.
Good morning, Angus, and to all on frequency this morning. You're coming through wonderful at my QTH. So a big congratulations from the club to all the new amateurs, and I'm sure you will get to that as well, Angus, but congratulations to all those who wrote the exam, and very well done to those who passed. Those who didn't make it, well, give it another try in April and get that license, because it is opens up a new world to you. Then antenna build. Yesterday we had the antenna build for all those who wanted to build a linked dipole antenna, and I think that went down very, very well. A big thank you to Gerrit ZS6 GVH for all the work that he put into procuring the kit materials and assembling those kits for everybody. And thank you to those who brought their antenna analyzers along yesterday so that we could help everybody who was building the linked dipole. I think it went very, very well. We had it was very hot and out there in the sun, but we had a great time and managed to complete all the dipoles that we were building and had a braai at the same time. Then there's on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday evening, I believe it's also in the bulletin, but the Tech Talk will be taking place at our clubhouse at 11 Cooldoon Road, Bryanston. So please do come through to the clubhouse for that Tech Talk. The Tech Talk starts at 7 in the evening, but the clubhouse will be open from around 5:30 in the afternoon. And I know that a couple of members of the club are going to change the signatories on the bank account because Greg is left Gauteng. He's gone down to the Port Elizabeth, and so we're handing over the treasury role for on Wednesday afternoon as well. Then this coming Saturday, the committee will be having the strategy session, and that'll be out at Brandon's 86 Lima Zulu's place. So the committee are getting together to strategize for the forthcoming year and how are we going to execute a lot of the projects that we have got in line for the club and make it exciting for all members of the club to participate in one or more of the club events. So that'll be an interesting discussion, and we will let everybody know about the outcomes of that after that. Then this weekend, we're busy evaluating the QRP logs as well. As you know, the QRP contest took place on Saturday last week in the afternoon, and we're now busy evaluating all the logbooks, and we'll get those results out shortly. And also last week, it was the time for the first Bryanston Scout Group, supported by 3-4 members of the Centre Amateur Radio Club. We went out there for the Jamboree on the Air, JOTA event, and they participated in SSTV, Morse Code, and radio work, able to chat to other scouts around the country. We didn't get outside of the country, unfortunately, but they did have good conversations with Victor 51 Whiskey in northern Namibia near Etosha as well. And then, just to remind everybody, there's a CQWW SSB contest on the go today, and that is always a great one to participate in. I think it closes at midnight tonight, UTC, and you can always just work for a few hours. You don't have to work the full 24 hours or 48 hours of that contest. Back to you, Angus. Thank you very much. Z6STN, Z6HI.
Z6HI from Z6STN. Keith, thank you very much for that and everything you guys have done, especially Chad with the RAE and everything like that. All right, I'd like to congratulate the new candidates that have just passed the RAE from Sandton. And the results were Ferdy Horn, ZS6 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, then Clayton Sheffield Webb, ZS2 Juliet Echo Tango, Amran Sadat, I hope I got that right, ZR6 Alpha Sierra, Ronald Littlejohn, ZS6 Romeo Tango Lima, Mark Burgess, ZS6 Alpha Mike Foxtrot, then we got Rendon, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher this, sorry, Casalina, apologies if I got that wrong, ZS6 Romeo Tango, Timothy Gordor, ZR6 Golf Oscar Uniform, Lunqua Tawala, ZS6 Papa Tango Tango, Leon Schuner, ZS6 Lima Bravo Sierra, then Trevor Sagnell, ZS6 Juliet Whiskey Hotel, and then Malcolm Jennings, ZS6 Mark Alpha Kilo. Congrats on your pass. I did see one of you. I will mention it in the bulletin as well. Let's move on to the SAL bulletin. First, there is Europe 2-meter trans-equatorial propagation since 1981, the October RAE results, and the IARU makes a positive clear amateur radio bands must be protected. First, there is to Europe 2-meter trans-equatorial propagation since 1981. On the 20th of October, between 1752 and 1809 UTC, Bernie, ZS4 Tango X-ray, Division 6, in Kilo Golf 47, exchanged reports with Ned, Zulu Lima 1 Delta X-ray, from Kilo November 22 on 144.192, using the mode Q65D-30. The distance between the two stations was 7,253 kilometers, which is 56 kilometers further than the previous ZS-TEP distance record set by Ton, ZS4 Bravo uniform, in September 1981, with Sierra Victor 1 Alpha Bravo. Q65 uses 65 tones shift keying modulation mode. It is a sync tone for both time and frequency synchronizations. Q65D is particularly effective with for TEP and EME and on VHF and higher bands. The sub-mode provides different tone spacings. The available RX and TX sequences are 15, 30, 60, 120 and 300 seconds. Q65 is part of the WSJT software. Lima Zulu 1 Delta X-ray was first decoded at ZS4 Tango X-ray on the 2nd of September, and the two stations have been trying every day since to re-establish a two-way contact. The best SNR level received from Lima Zulu 1 Delta X-ray was minus 12 dBs, which is strong enough for a CW contact. This contact was the first 2-meter TEP ever reported out of Bulgaria. While ZS4 Tango X-ray used an M2 Inc 9-element Yagi mounted 6 meters above the ground with an 300 watt output, while ZS1 Delta X-ray used his EME capabilities, an 8 by 11 element Yagi array and a 1,500 watt. Paul, ZS6 November Kilo, Hal, ZS6 Whiskey Bravo, and John, ZS6 Joanne, was instrumental in setting up and sponsoring equipment to make this contact possible. 2-meter TEP skits between CQ zones 38 and South Europe are coordinated on the dedicated WhatsApp group. Currently, Derek, Victor 51 Delta Mike from Juliet Hotel 70 is working Italy and Greek stations almost every evening with a signal ratio sometimes well above 0 dBs. Please contact ZS4 Tango X-ray if you wish to be added to this WhatsApp group. Congratulations to Paul Smith, ZS6 November Kilo, who worked his 200 DXCC entries on 6 meters on Wednesday, the 22nd of November. Then the REE results. The REE for 18th October is a thing of the past. The results were published and emailed to all the candidates on Friday evening, the 24th of October. This is 6 days after the exam. To get all administration done in a short period of time is not possible without the dedication of the entire team, or the REE team. All the lecturers, the assessors, especially Noel, ZR6DX, for his tremendous support and guidance to me, and then Russi, ZS1 Yankee Tango, for taking care of the ICASA administration. The results are as follows. We had 95 registrations to write the REE. 81 candidates sat for the exam, and 69 passed with a pass rate of 85. The top 3 students were: third, Chanel Michaels from Port Elizabeth with a 95 aggregate. Second was Trevor Signal from Fenton with a 96 aggregate, and the top student was Ian Jez from Rudaput with a 98% aggregate. Well done to all those who passed. Due to our agreement, with ICASA, all those who have received their results with a pass and a call sign can immediately go on the air. A diary of events for the 2026 SRL diary. On the 13th of October, the SRL Canada Secretary sent out a draft copy of diary of events in a PDF and MS published format. The SRL communication mailing list was used. Okay, thank you to the East Rand and West Rand Victoria for providing clubs of their flea markets. The SRL Technical Symposium will be held on the 11th of April 2026 and the AMSAT Symposium on the 1st of August 2026. Send your date of your club activities to secretary@srl.org.za. A request for repeating information. Following the news of two SRL items in the SRL news the past Sundays, thank you to the Magaliesburg Amateur Radio Club and Kempton Amateur Radio Club, the Hibiscus Radio Amateur Radio Club for providing their club information. The repeater group requires the following information from clubs: the repeater frequency, name, location, call sign, and a copy of the license. Also, the contact people, whether the repeater is active, linked, or under maintenance. If you can send your information to Philip van Tonder, ZS6PVT, at zs6pvt.gmail.com, and then you can copy the secretary at the srl.org.za. Then, the IRU makes positively clear, position clear. Amateur radio bands must be protected. The International Amateur Radio Union, IRU, is an RTU sector member and observer in the international and regulation organizations, has called for the protection and the complex and diverse range of existing telecommunications and service listed in the table of frequencies allocated under the RR Act 5, Section 1V. This comes in response to an application by a commercial satellite company to use the 5 frequencies in the 430 to 440 megahertz band. Why does the 430 and 440 bands matter? The 430 to 440 bands support a wide range of amateur communication with satellite applications including weak signal communications, space communications, Earth-to-Earth, Earth-Moon, Earth links, digital television, data transmission, repeaters, and emergency communication systems. Because of these critical functions, the amateur community has raised strong opposition to this commercial application. Okay, a massive response and the FCC intervention. The IRU, together with the National Amateur Radio Society associations and individuals, submitted over 2,550 objections to the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. On the 29th of August, the FCC Space Bureau's response at this time to address the concerns raised by amateur radio operators and petitions will be issued and granted AST to conduct emergency operations in the 430 to 440 megahertz bands, where no other bands are available for the period to not exceed 24 hours. The ARRU welcomes the decision, but continues to stress that invoking RR Article 4.4 is not appropriate in this case. I'm not going to read any further because they're carrying on about the different things. So, November 2025 Radio ZS. The November 2025 issue of the Radio ZS will be available for download from Thursday morning, the 30th of October. In this issue, we look back at to 1984 and the new 2-meter EME world record, while Gary, ZS6 Yankee India, talks about the lost diode. Aaron, ZU6 Echo Delta Romeo, takes us to the Yota 2025 Summer Camp Jamboree in France. We look at Morse for the younger generations and contesting with the young overlay. Read about the ZS ML mobile application, the ground loop, and parks on the air from hot air balloons. In the museum piece, we look at the invention of Lazarus Borer. We look inside of your Go box, and we build a CAT cable for Kenwood TK90 and more. Alright, then the October Power Hour Tech Talk. The October Power Hour Tech Talk is coming up on Wednesday evening, the 29th of October at 1900 hours Central African Time. You are invited. Many chase and manage to make solar contacts with Brandon, ZS6 Lima Zulu, or 7 Papa 8 Lima Zulu. He has battled the weather whilst attempting to activate 10 SOTA peaks during his Lesotho Mini SOTA DXpedition in September 2025. Now it is your chance to relive the adventure, feel the cold, take shelter from the rain, be buffeted by the wind, negotiate cliffs in the mist, and celebrate the achievements and the joy of contacts made through photographs and stories direct from the adventurer himself via Zoom on the coming Wednesday, the 29th of October. Brandon, ZS6 Lima Zulu, is an intrepid hiker and SOTA activator, and Matthew, ZS6 MDV, the ground support and overwatching station, will be our two guest speakers for the evening. They will give us all the details of ups and downs, literally and figuratively, of the Lesotho Mini SOTA DXpedition. As they plan travel from Johannesburg, enjoy a beer in Nottingham, negotiate Sani Pass, and activate SOTA peaks during Brandon's hike across the berg, all the way to Giant's Castle, with lots of pictures and stories to excite and keep us entertained. Did you chase the SOTA activations? Then please come along and perhaps even add your voice to the share your chase view and experiences with the talk. Please diarize this coming Wednesday evening, the 29th of October, at 1900 hours Central African Time, to join the Power Hour Tech Talk on Zoom. The Zoom meeting ID is 873-2411-8244, and the passcode is 186458. And let us relive the adventure. Okay, then I would like to the Bakar 13 CCTV quiz. Do you remember the launch and flight of Bakar 13, which took place on Saturday, the 11th of October? Then you may also remember there was a quiz embedded in the UHF SSTV images transmitted from the edge of space. And we have a winner, ZS1 Whiskey Tango. Congrats, Stuart. Managed to decode the images and correctly identify each of the 6 space telescopes, then which he then sent through to his images to info06stn.org to claim his prize. Telescope number 1 was the Keppel telescope. Telescope number 2 was the Hubble Space Telescope. Telescope number 3 was the James Webb Space Telescope. Telescope number 4 was the Chandel X-ray Observatory. Telescope number 5 was the Spitz Space Telescope. And telescope 6 was the Eclipse Space Telescope. Congratulations to Stuart. Not only can you claim bragging rights, but be the first participant to have successfully answered the quiz to take home the prize. Your gift is on its way to you. Pick-up balloon. The ZS1 ERZ-12. I've been hearing about that from Graham and Marius. ZR6MS. They've been tracking this quite a lot. The balloon has now started its seventh circumnavigation of the globe, and the balloon has traveled over 210,000 kilometers in 62 days. On Friday, the 24th of October, the balloon was at 12,640 meters ASL and was south-southwest of Amsterdam Island and northeast of Kenwell Island. So again, it is a regained height and is moving at about 38 degrees south latitude, You can follow the balloon on aprs.far and type in ZS1ERZ-12 and press the search button. In SRL, the contest news. The SRL Contest Working Group invites you to review the draft contest book for 2026. The next year's version of the Blue Book is up for review on my SRL webpage under the contest section, and then the contest resources tab at the bottom of the page, ready for download. Changes from the 2025 Blue Book are highlighted and can be easily tracked. Should you have any comments or suggestions, your inputs can be shared on the contest working group by sending an email to contest@srl.org.za. The contest working group would like to thank everybody who took part in the 2025 80-meter contest, club contest. This was a fun and exciting contest which will continue next year with a few additions to the club contest series. Please check the 2026 club book for more details. The club contest series is an ideal way for your club to get members active and on the air and develop skills and techniques along the way, not to mention the fun and camaraderie elements. Reminder, you do not need to have a big club to be competitive. Some of the top clubs submitted 7 logs per leg. In theory, if you can have more than 8 members per leg on the air with a log submitted, your club stands the chance to be crowned club champions in this contest. Good luck and hope to see you in the 4th leg of the 40-meter contest on the 22nd of November. The propagation report. Hannes Kutsia, ZS6 Bravo Zulu Papa, reports that the solar activity is expected to be on low levels during the week. There are currently 7 sunspot regions with simple magnetic configurations visible. There is a high probability of C-class and low probability of M-class solar flares. If you want to do your own frequency prediction, the expected sunspot number for the week is around about 99. It's coming down. The 30 to 10 meter bands may provide some good DX fun. Please visit the website spaceweather.sanza.org.za for further information. Then some diary of events. As Keith mentioned, today until midnight UTC, the CQWWSSB competition. The 29th of October is the Saturn Power Hour Tech Talk. On the 4th and 5th of November is the Taurus Meteor Shower. The 8th of November is the West Rand Flea Market. 9th of November is Remembrance Day. 11th of November is Armistice Day. And then 13th of November is the newbies QSO party. And then 17th and 18th of November is the Lloyd's Meteor Shower. 22nd of November is the SRL Saturday 40-meter club competition. For my topic of interest, I've actually got a video here that I'm going to play. I did do something similar a couple of years ago. Being the new amateurs have just got their RE, I thought I'd play this video and give them a bit of history about amateur radio. So here goes.
Have you ever wondered why amateur radio operators are called hams? It's one of those curious names that sound a bit funny at first. After all, what does ham have to do with radios? But behind this odd term lies a rich history stretching back more than a century, filled with innovation, controversy, and a community of passionate experimenters who shaped the world of communication long before the internet existed. In this video, we'll explore where the term ham radio really came from, who coined it, and how it evolved into the name proudly embraced by millions of amateur radio enthusiasts around the world today. Let's explore right here on History of Simple Things. Before we get to the name itself, let's rewind to the early 1900s, the dawn of radio. At that time, radio was still a brand new technology. Most people didn't even own a receiver, and those who experimented with wireless communication were typically inventors, scientists, and enthusiastic hobbyists building their own transmitters from scratch. These pioneers were experimenting with sending signals through the air using Morse code, long before voice transmissions were possible. They were known as amateurs because they weren't commercial operators or professionals. Governments and big corporations, on the other hand, were running powerful stations for military or commercial purposes. Now, back then, the airwaves were an unregulated Wild West. Everyone was experimenting on different frequencies, and there were no clear rules about who could transmit where. The amateurs, young tinkerers, students, and hobbyists, often built small, low-power transmitters in their basements or backyards. But because their signals were sometimes unstable or poorly tuned, they would occasionally interfere with the big commercial or naval stations that relied on clear communication channels. Professional operators, especially those working in shipping and the military, found this incredibly frustrating. They often blamed those hams for messing up their signals. And that's where one of the most popular theories about the name begins. In the early 1900s, ham was actually a slang term used by professional telegraph operators to describe someone who was clumsy or unskilled at sending Morse code. It was basically an insult, like saying someone was a hack or an amateur. When wireless radio became more widespread, the term carried over to describe those same amateurs who weren't part of the professional networks. So when the pros complained about interference, they'd say things like, "Those hams are jamming our signals again." The amateurs, rather than taking offense, embraced the term and proudly started calling themselves ham radio operators. But that's not the only theory. Some say the term ham actually came from the initials of three early radio pioneers at Harvard University: Hyman, Almy, and Murray. Around 1908, these three students were experimenting with wireless communication and ran one of the earliest amateur stations, which they identified as ham. When government regulations began requiring operators to register their call signs, they reportedly used ham as their station's identifier. The story goes that the name gained fame when the students defended amateur radio rights before Congress in 1911, and from then on, ham became synonymous with amateur radio operators everywhere. However, historians debate how accurate that story really is. There isn't much solid evidence linking the Harvard Trio's station directly to the widespread adoption of the term ham across the United States. Most linguistic experts agree that the word likely came from the older telegraph slang meaning poor operator. But the Harvard story remains a charming and widely repeated legend in amateur radio circles, especially among old-timers who like to honor the roots of their hobby. Regardless of which version you believe, one thing is certain. By the 1920s, the term ham was no longer an insult. In fact, it had become a badge of honor. Amateur radio operators had proven themselves to be more than just hobbyists. They were innovators and problem solvers who helped advance radio technology itself. When disaster struck, it was often the hams who provided emergency communication when other systems failed. During both World Wars, amateur operators were called upon to assist with technical expertise, and many military radio specialists originally learned their skills as civilian hams tinkering in their garages. Over time, the amateur radio community grew into a global network. The International Amateur Radio Union was formed in 1925 to represent operators worldwide, and governments began setting aside specific frequency bands for amateur use. To this day, hams operate under regulated licenses that test their technical knowledge, communication skills, and understanding of the rules. And despite the rise of modern communication tools like smartphones, Wi-Fi, and the internet, ham radio has never disappeared. In fact, it's still thriving, with millions of licensed operators around the world. One of the most fascinating aspects of ham radio is how it bridges generations and cultures. You can find operators from every age group talking to one another across continents using nothing more than radio waves bouncing off the ionosphere. Some use Morse code, others use voice transmission, and many now use digital modes that blend radio with modern computing. But no matter how advanced the tools become, the spirit of experimentation and curiosity remains exactly the same as it was over 100 years ago. So the next time you hear someone talking about ham radio, you'll know it's not about sandwiches or meat. It's about a century-old tradition of communication pioneers who helped shape modern technology. Whether the name came from an insult, a Harvard station, or a mix of both, ham radio stands today as a testament to human ingenuity and the power of connection. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.
A couple of years ago, there was actually a gentleman that came to me and said, how do I become a ham? Because it seems to be like an elite group, but it's not. Everybody who's got a passion for radio can become an amateur radio. And one thing I must say, nothing is impossible with amateur radio, with communications. And especially if you come up with problems, don't let anybody tell you that it can't be done. If there's a will, there's a way, and if a person's got problems with communications and listening and everything like that, a person can do it. So, and as I say to a lot of the new hams, once you're into the amateur radio hobby, your learning only starts. I've heard people say, sure, that exam was hard. And I say to them, sorry to break it to you, but now the learning only starts. So yes, amateur radio is a very exciting hobby, and there's so many different facets to it. It's a beautiful hobby. Anyway, let me leave it there then. Thank you for everybody who out there for listening. We trust that you've enjoyed this bulletin today. Feel free to give us comments or any constructive criticism. Thank you to all stations that assisted with the relays and broadcasting, and those who contributed to the content from time to time. Join us again next Sunday at 8:45 Central African Time for a regular bulletin of the Sandton Amateur Radio Club. This brings a close to the weekly club bulletin for the Sandton Amateur Radio Club, Z6STN. Z6STN was operated today by Z6 Golf Oscar Oscar. Thank you to all the listeners and 7 3s. Z6STN now relinquishes all frequencies for general use.